We can't hear you. Yeah, it says we can't hear you there.
You want it? We'll work on it.
There we go.
All right, we're good now.
All right. I believe everyone can hear us now. Sorry for those technical difficulties. First time broadcasting a meeting live on Facebook in this fashion. First of all, welcome in the room with first of all, I'm Aaron Jensen, City Administrator with the City of Waupaca. In the room with me is Justin Behrens, our Public Works Director, Roger Hansen, our Street Superintendent, and Mayor Smith. And we will be taking you through some updates from the 90% plan of the Main Street project. This is public information meeting number 4. We will be monitoring Facebook comments and we'll be answering them as best as we can. If we cannot answer them today, we'll be happy to get back to you and answer them in a very short fashion. Before I hand it over to Justin, who's going to be taking the majority of this meeting, I want to touch base on a couple things. We've been through an interesting period of time here with COVID-19. It caused us to have conversations amongst staff on, is there any possibility that we could push this project up to get some of it done in 2020? That was our first thought, and we knew it was a very slim chance, but we wanted to try anyway. We talked to the DOT, and it turns out that slim chance was true. It turned out to be a 0% chance with some of the state funding and everything that's tied to it. And then we did have a short conversation on, well, does it make sense for the impact of the Main Street area to go backwards a little bit? And there's a couple of reasons that we ended up thinking that really didn't seem like a good route to go. And one of those reasons is, with all the things happening at the state level, as the more we push this thing back, are we guaranteed to have those funds in the future? We can't say that for sure. We want to get this thing done when we know we have the funds from the state to complete it. We don't want to put ourselves in a bad position by pushing it back. Also, bidding costs could go up. We're seeing pretty competitive bidding right now, and that's what we're hearing. Usually maybe bidding would go up 3%. We've been told it could go up even 6-7%, and that could be a difference of $100,000 that the city would spend outside of grant money. So that's another reason. So ultimately, we think it's best for the entire city and the Main Street area to get this project done, which we're thrilled about getting started on here soon. Bidding will happen in the fall, and we'll keep everything right on track the way we were going to. And for those of you who are listening who might be Main Street owners, we will be in touch a lot between now and this fall, and obviously the start of construction next spring, and work with you on helping mitigate any of those impacts as construction happens. One of the things Justin will be talking about is the staging and how that's going to look, and that's been laid out in the 90% plan. I know a lot of you were interested in that at the last public information meeting, so I think you'll be happy to see some direction on that. And with all of that said, thank you again for joining us. I'll turn it over to Justin, and he will start going through the 90% plan.
Thanks, Aaron. So I'm going to share the screen. You're going to be able to see a little bit of the plan. The full plan set is over 200 pages, so I was able to trim it down just for this public meeting. The reason is it's a lot of black and white lines, a lot of details for our contractors to make sure that the project is built right. And I'm just going to hit on the high points of the project, and then we'll get into a little bit more detail as we move along here. So since this is the 4th meeting, we've been trying to educate and advertise the public. The project is Main Street from Badger up to Granite. So we have these 4 blocks downtown, and here is just a basic overview of the project. So again, this is going to start next spring. So we're anticipating contractors going to break ground out here March of 2021. This fall is when the project will be let for bid, and what that means is it's let out there for the contractors to review, place their bid to the DOT, and basically the lowest qualified bidder wins the job.
You may want to zoom in a little bit. It's tough. Some of these smaller graphics, it's tougher to see on the Facebook. Sorry
for the flashing. That's just something that routinely happens with Microsoft Teams. So project down at Badger Street, so where the post office is, Woodpile Foundation, moving north, up past City Hall, through Fulton Street, past Session Street, and then finally Granite Street, and the project finishes off just beyond the Danes home. So with this work here, it's a full reconstruct, meaning that the entire road's going to be ripped up and replaced. We're going with a concrete road, new concrete curb and gutter, and concrete sidewalk with some amenities built in. I'll show you a rendering later on as we move along here. All utilities will be replaced as well, so that storm sewer, which collects the rainwater and sends it along the way, those are going to be much improved. Sewer and water, so the clean drinking water, and then what goes down your drain, all those will be replaced, and these utilities are upwards of 100 years old, or if not better, throughout the downtown area. Ooh, that looks terrible. That's what's showing up on.
It's a little delayed.
Is it a little delayed? Okay. Again, apologize for the flashing, but as the project starts, North Main is going to be where the contractors start their work. So starting at Fulton Street, all the way up to that last limit beyond the Danes home will be shut down to through vehicle traffic. Pedestrian, I guess, walkability through the site is to be maintained throughout the project to allow access to businesses and residents on Main Street. But that's going to be the hard shutdown as we complete this work. Fulton Street, we've made some extra provisions to keep Fulton Street open as long as possible with the least amount of impact. And the reason for that is because that's a very busy intersection for our downtown and a connection, to the city to the west and even to the east. So the very beginning, Fulton Street will be focused on contractors will come in, tear up that intersection, and have basically 10 days to replace the utilities underground, and then replace the pavement with temporary asphalt. Temporary asphalt, I mean, it's not as high a quality as what we would want as a finished roadway. It's cheaper, but all it needs to be is just a Band-Aid fix for the limited time that for this project. So 10 days, Fulton Street intersection will be shut down, open back up, and the contractors will continue to work on North Main Street from Fulton up to the Danes home.
Justin, excuse me, everyone, we just kind of got some advice from our IT director. Justin, he said if you maybe try to open it up in Microsoft Edge instead of Adobe, it might help the flashing. So maybe we want to try that just for a second. What's that?
How do I do that?
He's to the rescue.
Where's the file saved on the computer?
It just stopped.
Yeah, it just stopped. Right there.
All right, guys, just bear with us for a second. We're trying to see if we can fix the flashing that we're seeing on Facebook Live.
All right. Back to it. All right, now I got to get to the right spot. Here it is. This looks different. was it, right?
Should be it. Are you missing pages on that one?
Yeah, for some reason.
Guess we'll have to go back to the other.
There it is. Okay. Don't go away now.
There we
Okay.
go. All right.
So then once Fulton Street temporary stuff has been completed, again, they'll get back to work on the rest of the north section, which is shown on this sheet that Fulton Street in the future, while the construction work is going on, is open to head east on Fulton, south on Main, north on Main, and west on Fulton. Allow that traffic flow to continue into the future while this work is going on. So then as construction keeps moving, we'll have to get back into the intersection to put in the new curb and gutter, new sidewalk, and new pavement. This is what this page is showing. Hashed out section will be the construction limits. And again, the contractor has a limited time to get that done. In this section, to get that new curb and gutter and pavement in is another 14 days to finish that work. And then once that is completed and the rest of North Main section, then we'll open it up and then flip it over to the South Main section. Now this work we're expecting to start, like I said, March 21. It should go through into the midsummer, so about July, somewhere in the June, July timeframe, we could see that flip to South Main Street. So when that occurs, we'll have a brand new road from Fulton Street all the way up to Granite, past the Danes home, and then construction will start south of that from Fulton all the way down to Badger Street into the post office there. Again, this we're anticipating to start sometime in July, midsummer, and will just be completed before the end of the year. Hopefully a majority of the work will be completed by late October. Okay, I'm going to switch over to something else here, and hopefully we don't continue to see the flashing. So this is a rendering of Main Street in the future. This is at Fulton Street, looking north up Main. So you can see here we have the white pavement, which is the concrete road. We have the bump outs there that we've been talking about for some time. Some colored concrete behind it for the decorative, the aesthetic treatments. New street lights, which are identical to the ones that are around City Hall. And then also some landscaping, such as new trees and possibly some future planters there. Now, I'd like to reiterate the bump outs are there to increase pedestrian safety crossing the street. They were a requirement by the DOT, and that was a trade-off where in order to maintain the angled parking into the future, they wanted to see the bump outs. So the bump outs increase pedestrian safety. The angled parking, according to the DOT, is not as safe as parallel. So we reached some middle ground and we were able to save the angled parking, which saved us about 50% of our parking stalls out on Main Street. But we need to get these bump outs put into the plan. The curb line past the bump outs is going to be very similar to the curb lines that are out there right now. There's going to be some changes, so up and down and will be a little bit different because obviously we're rebuilding this road. Drainage patterns are going to switch a little bit, so we're just going to, it's going to be slightly different, but for the most part, where the sidewalk is now along Main Street, we'll have that there into the future. switch back to the plan one more time. Hopefully make it work this time. Oh no, there we go.
So while we're taking this little bit of a break here, there are a couple questions that have come up on this on the Facebook Live. I want to take an opportunity to answer those. First one, Justin, from Diane Baker. Looks like there is a four-way stop on Fulton and Main. Will there be the capability to go back to stoplights if it turns out to be dangerous?
Yes, that was going to be the next point, is talking about the intersections. So Badger in Maine, Fulton in Maine, and Granite in Maine will all become four-way stop sign controlled intersections, which means the signals at Badger in Maine and Fulton, Maine, which they currently are right now, those will be removed. But we will have conduit placed underneath the ground, and that's important because we need that for future lights, need electricity. So we'll be able to pull the lights, or pull the wires, excuse me, in the future, and allow the installation of signals if the city grows, if it's warranted, that sort of thing.
Next question. Thanks, Justin, for that. Terry Olson, guessing different parade route for next year. Yes.
Yes.
Yep, that'll be worked out with the Chamber of Commerce, CVB, parade organizers. Yes, we will have to have a different parade route next year, and that will be a discussion we have probably sometime later this summer, this coming fall. And then one more question, if you're ready for it.
Sure.
Do you see any issues? And this might be, you're welcome, Diane. Do you see any issues with snow plows and bump outs? That would be a question for either Justin or Roger, whoever wants to take the lead on that.
Issues, yes. I mean, let's not dance around the subject here. The bump outs are going to make the snow removal a little bit more difficult. They do in every single community, and it's something that we've had a number of discussions on, but we've had to balance whether or not we wanted to keep the angle parking or allow the bump outs, and I guess that's kind of what it went down to. If we told the DOT we did not want to install these bump outs, they would have required us to put parallel parking throughout the entire project. And they, because we're receiving funding from them, we have to follow their standards and their rules. Their standard is parallel parking is the safe way of parking. Angle parking, they do not do on their projects. So the trade-off was lose 50 to 60% of our parking stalls downtown, or install the bump outs, and now we have a little bit bigger of a challenge clearing out Main Street with the snow removal into the future.
Awesome. I think that's it for now for questions.
And double back to the parade route, I would say for all the special events downtown, we've been considering that moving into the future. It hasn't been until recently that we received this plan. We can see the staging, and now some of the bigger events that are in late summer to fall, maybe we can accommodate those, maybe we can't. But it's been topic of a discussion for a number of years of how to handle all of them, not just 4th of July parade, Strawberry Fest, Rotary, Arts on the Square, those sort of things.
Yeah, good point. And yeah, this 90% plan came in, I think, on Monday, didn't it, Justin?
Yes.
So, all right. Go ahead and proceed with whatever was next on your list.
I pretty much covered what I wanted to say. This is our 4th one, so we've gone through a lot. I didn't want to be repetitive, but those were the high points that I wanted to hit on. Anything you guys want to add?
I mean, I think I just want to add a little bit, the picture that Justin had showed you that shows a view of Main Street, and you can see where it's Main and Fulton. He's going to pop it back up for us. We changed this a little bit because, in all of our previous ones, that road was black, and we're actually going to be asphalting this. So we wanted you to see a a truer picture of what it would really look like too. That was a minor change we made, but we felt like that would give us a better view of exactly what it's going to look like there. Do we have a picture when we go down towards Session Street too? Can we?
Not showing the concrete.
Not yet. Okay. Okay. All right.
We can show it what it looks like if it was blacktop.
That's fine. Let's just stop there.
Yeah.
So-
Can I just say the
Absolutely.
pavement, typically the city paves the roads in asphalt because we are able to get more of a better price paving roads in asphalt. Here with the nature of the work, since everything's being ripped up, and we wanted things to last, SCH, our design engineers, did a pavement analysis, and their analysis came up that concrete would be more or financially better than asphalt in the long run. So since we're getting this funding from the DOT, we're only paying 20% of that pavement cost. So that little extra that we typically would have to consume if it was our funded 100% by the city, well, now a lot of that's being just taken on by DOT, and it made that financial benefit come out quicker going from concrete or using concrete instead of asphalt. So that's why the rendering shows the gray pavement, because it's going to be concrete. It's going to look like that into the future.
So just a couple of comments on here about the snow plowing and some opinions on it not being an easy thing with the bump outs. And yeah, we recognize that it's more of a challenge than it currently is. I think Justin alluded to that. I know Roger's been involved in all these conversations from the get-go, and his input has been taken. Justin did mention the gives and takes with the angle and parallel parking. I think another thing that's important to mention is these bump outs were originally actually quite a bit bigger. They've been shrunken down as we've gone through the process of submitting them to the State Historical Society. Through that process, they have been narrowed up quite a bit. So that's going to be a better scenario for that. So that's just one thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah, we'll plow around them, or somewhere around City Hall. We got the angles a lot better. There might be a stall lost the first day of the snowstorm on each bump out, and come back and get them the next day. So, but there's gonna be quite a bit more snow removal for the business owners on the corners.
At the corners. Yes.
Right.
So that was one thing that was mentioned, I think that was at the third meeting. So the sidewalk removal or clearing of snow, the adjacent property owners take care of that throughout the entire city. Downtown is no different. The businesses take the snow from the sidewalk, push it out into the road, and that's not going to change. That's going to be the same going forward. But in these spots where we have these bump outs at the intersections, there's going to be a lot more to clear out. Obviously, the bump out is just a larger area where pedestrians can go and cars should not go, but that would have to be cleared off. And again, it's allowed to be pushed out into the road where our crews, Roger and the guys, will come along and remove it. It's going to take a little bit additional effort on both ends, but that's just the way it is.
It's worth the sacrifice to keep the angle park in the long run.
Yeah, awesome. So a couple questions here from Andy Beiser. I apologize, Andy. I assume one of those are correct. Since Fulton and Main will have to go to bump outs, will Fulton Street east of Main go back to angle parking?
That's a very good question. At this point, east of Main is going to stay the perpendicular. Now, one of the big drivers for the City Hall project which is Fulton Street east of Main, was to increase the number of stalls in the downtown area and to prepare for this project. So while North Main Street and South Main Street is being ripped up, we have these additional stalls around City Hall for people who want to, drive downtown, and then they'll have to walk to the businesses basically just accommodate that, because half the stalls will be not available while the construction is going on. Now, after the work is complete, we'll have to analyze that and see. There's a possibility, but again, to restripe all that is going to take some effort, and at this point, it's going to stay perpendicular.
And then another one, will the 2-hour parking limit stay in place?
That's going to remain the same into the future as well. So again, throughout the planning and designing of this project, we've had that discussion a number of times, have involved PD and have received comments from business owners. And at this point, we think the best option is to stick with the 2-hour.
Hold on, sorry, I got things blocking my way. Are there any extras like benches, flower planters, speakers for music, bike racks included in the plan?
No, not at this time. So those amenities we had included at one time, and right now those are not in there just because it exceeded the budget. You can see on the rendering a couple of those planters there. We're looking at possibly completing those outside of the project. We have trash cans out there currently, which we would just reuse. And there was no plans for bike racks. There are some discussion on benches, but they're not included within the plan.
Next here, and that was Terry Schultz who had that question. Looks like Todd Meerdink, will there be any considerations made for bikes such as shared use lane designations?
So bikes cannot be on the sidewalk downtown. That's currently within our ordinance. Biking is allowed on the road through there, and will be allowed in the future, but there's not going to be any special or additional striping to show a bike lane with this project.
And then Kristen Olson, also during construction, will the alley be open so that people can access stores from the backside of their buildings off of North Main Street?
The alleys will be open. So that's a very good question because we're going to be rebuilding those alleys here shortly this summer. That's part of the Granite Street project, which is going to be starting here shortly. That we have a contractor on board for that project. So the alleyways, the parking lot at North Washington and Granite Street will also be redone with the Granite Street project. And those, again, were to help prepare for the downtown inconvenience of Main Street being shut down. So access in the alleys will be there, and additional parking, well, maybe not additional parking, but a brand new parking lot at North Washington and Granite Street.
All right. So right now, that is all the questions that we have that we see posted on the live chat. I'm going to give it a minute or so, and I believe we're a little delayed, about 15, 20 seconds delayed. So I'm just going to give it a little bit in case there are any more. And while we're waiting for more, I strongly urge anyone who has a question as we move forward or wants to have a conversation about this, please call us at City Hall, whether it's myself or Justin. We are more than happy to talk to you. We want to make sure all the questions are answered appropriately. We assume, we will be back in touch and giving more updates as we progress. But we assume there will be more questions from people directly impacted, or if you're watching from anywhere in the city, we're here to help you through it. So please keep that in mind. I'm not seeing any other questions posted right now. So does anyone else in this room have anything they'd like to share?
This Granite Street is starting next week, or the alleys, so they're aware.
Utility crews are working in the back alleys right now. As it stands currently, the road construction crews are planning to be in next Monday. The schedule for Granite has not been finalized, but that's what it's showing right now. I was going to put out a update on that before the end of the day on Granite Street. Roger beat me to the punch.
Yeah.
But
It's effective.
it's going to happen. If not Monday, next Monday, it'll be the Monday after it, most likely.
Okay. All right, we've got a little surge in questions here.
Oh.
Comment/question, looking like it's gonna be a tight fit for larger trucks, trailers making left turns off of Fulton to South Main Street.
Where was that?
Fulton to South Main Street, so, which is why that bump out is different there. It's got that little different design. I mean, there's less parking stalls available.
Oh, okay. Yes. So the truck turning has been considered. So SCH, again, the design firm that was hired for this, has to put together a turning template, they call it, where they simulate through their computer program a large truck driving down through, taking various turns throughout, well, the downtown area, and that is, submitted to the DOT, and they make sure that any potential conflicts are fixed or adjusted. So this rendering is showing two bigger bump outs on the other side. They're much smaller, and that is to accommodate that Fulton heading east, taking a right and heading south on Main Street, the typical truck route through downtown. So some of them have been adjusted and are much smaller than what these two look here.
All right. So next question, are the current trees being retained or will new ones be installed? This is something we've talked about a bit over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. So the trees that are out there right now will be cut down and removed. There are green ash. So obviously with the emerald ash borer coming up from the south of Wisconsin, it's not a huge loss. Frankly, we don't like to cut down trees unless we have to, but this is warranted here. We'll remove those trees and we'll plant more of a diverse stock that we feel is going to be just as hardy and should stay nice and green like it's shown on there.
Thank you, Justin. Next question, what's happening with West Session Street? Is it going to be a one-way or is it going to remain the same?
West Session Street will be a one-way into Main Street. So if you were on Washington Street and you turned east to go to one of the banks, you would be able to accommodate that. If you wanted to go to the alleyways, you could do that. If you wanted to come all the way to Main Street, you could do that. If you were using the alleyways and wanted to turn west and go past the banks, you're allowed to do that. So it's from the alleyways to the east that Session Street will be a one-way into Main Street. So both sides of Session Street, I don't know if we really touched on this, will be angled parking on both sides. So we're expecting to pick up, one or two extra stalls with having angled on both sides of Session since it's a one-way. The roadway doesn't have to be as wide with it being one-way.
All right. Next question, how are you communicating with building owners on updates? Not all of us see things on Facebook.
Well, this is the fourth public meeting, so every time we've done this, we've mailed out letters. Typically, we've put advertisements in the newspaper. A lot of time, the newspapers just run stories. We have our radio station, Win TV. What else am I missing? Word of mouth.
Yeah, and I think one thing we can do with this, we can follow up with another letter. We're recording this, everyone, so this can be a link that could be accessed on our website. So if someone wasn't able to see it today, they could get a letter with directions on how to see this exact communication by going on the city's website, and then just encouraging them to call us from there.
We've also walked the job a couple times, went door to door and knocked. I mean, granted, over this for the span of 5 years since we started this project, we've done it a couple times, but that's just another way.
And I think we'll look forward to doing that again. We've been cooped up with this COVID-19, and we've been unable to get out to see people as much as we would like, but I know that's something that we always look forward to, is just coming and just asking if there are any questions. Pick a nice Friday to come and see you guys sometime soon. So, next question. Are the sidewalks bigger?
In general, the sidewalks will remain the same. One section where I know for sure they'll be wider is in between Badger and Union on the east side of Main Street. Right now, that sidewalk is about only 5 to 7 foot wide. It's going to be more like 7 to 8 in the future. And the reason for that is because the slopes or the grade change, or however you want to think of it, for the sidewalk, to make that accommodate ADA standards, we had to widen that sidewalk. So the angled parking in that block went away on the east side, and we switched to parallel. So we lost a few stalls there, but it was a necessity in order to make sure that that sidewalk met ADA standards, but it got wider, so it should accommodate more pedestrian traffic.
And Justin, can you speak to the definition of sidewalk and terrace and how that all plays into it too?
Sure. So shown on the screen, you kind of see these two shadowy people. The white part shows the official sidewalk. Now that sidewalk is typically 5 to 6 feet wide. So city standards is a minimum of 5 foot wide for any new sidewalk. And that's what's shown in the white. Beyond that, we have this colored concrete, which serves as a decoration, but it's also considered a terrace. So the slopes or the pitch from the sidewalk to the curb can be a little greater than normal for a standard ADA sidewalk. So the gray part has a very minimal pitch to allow people with disabilities, whether it's wheelchairs or walkers or just have a difficult time walking, make sure that they're able to walk on that without any issues. This terrace and these bump outs that have the color in it is a little bit different story, can have a little bit different of a slope on it. And that's done so that these grades on the curb and gutter, those change quite a bit on the road just to make sure there's drainage when it rains.
Okay, awesome. Next question, will you keep the concrete contract local with Carew?
Well, we don't select the contractors, but typically, the local contractors, such as like Carew or even like the Fulton Brothers, they can bid on the project, but most likely they're going to be like a material supplier. So a contractor would reach out to them to get a price on how much is it going to be for concrete, how much is going to be for gravel, that sort of thing. So those contractors could very well be supported through this project, but we don't select that.
Diane, I see your comment. We look forward to seeing you guys in person sometime very soon. After this meeting, Justin and I will we'll get something on the calendar to take a walk and maybe hand deliver some letters and let people know about this recording and then answer any questions that they have. So we'll see you very soon. We do have another comment on here. Will there be utilities shut off within this project, and how much notice will property owners get?
Well, there will be. The sewer and water the utilities need to be shut off in order to make a final connection. And typically what is done with this sort of project where a new main will be placed alongside the old one, and the disturbance or the shutoff will be for a very limited time, probably on the scale of hours, just to take a new lateral, whether it's sewer or water, and make that final connection to the new main. And once that switch is over or completed, the water's turned back on, and it should be pretty minimal. Business owners should be given at least 48-hour notice, and that's at the bare minimum, unless there's an emergency. But that's typically what we do with a project like this. We've been saying, hey, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. When the excavators show up and start busting up concrete, well, then it's going to be pretty soon. And that communication will be maintained, throughout the project, and, kind of a little bit of a heads up should be provided, like, hey, maybe next week, maybe next month, that sort of thing. But an official notice at a minimum 48 hours.
All right. So I'll ask again, right now we're at the end of our questions. I'll give it another minute or so to see if anyone has any more. And if not, we will log off and we will look forward to communicating this with all of the people that will be directly impacted and talking to them very soon.
Shut her down.
What's that? Anyone else have anything they can think of? All right, guys. Well, thank you all for watching today. We look forward to seeing you in person. Have a great end of your week.